We've all heard the phrase, Big Brother is watching you. When George Orwell wrote that in 1948, it was pure science fiction. Today, it's science fact.
Well, the government may not be Big Brother, but it can track you almost anywhere, anytime. And new technology will make it even easier to follow people in the future. Jennifer Wishon has the story.
If you go to the mall to buy a new outfit, go home and log into a website, then hop into your car with your smartphone to take a road trip, you wouldn't expect those things to be logged about you in cyberspace, but they probably are.
It's hard for you to know all the places where the information is being generated about you.
Data brokers are constantly collecting information about you, and it comes from sources you may not expect. Even this mobile gaming device tracks its GPS location when it's offline. Other gaming systems literally watch you, detecting where you are in a room and monitoring what TV shows you're watching. Companies are collecting specific information about what you buy to less specific yet sought-after metadata. That's basically data about data, or put another way, information about you, like how many phone calls you make, how long you talk, and even the subject of your emails. It allows the government and any other readers to categorize you, determine with whom you associate, and how you think. Justin Brookman is a consumer privacy advocate at the Center for Democracy and Technology.
My concern is if you go to the store, with your credit card, buy a loaf of bread or buy a donut, right? Does that information get collected about me and sold to, told to my doctor? Does it get sold to my insurance company? That's the sort of thing we don't have control over right now. And I think people should agitate for better controls, for better laws about this.
And surveillance isn't going away. It could easily become even more pervasive in the future because technology is only getting, well, smarter.
Right now, if you take a picture of someone walking down the sidewalk, chances are you won't be able to identify them using facial recognition software. But that technology is coming, and that has some people wondering if privacy is dead, or at least on life support.
And don't forget the growing capability of drones, unmanned tiny eyes in the sky that could follow you without you knowing it, even if you aren't using a cell phone or any other electronic device that can track you. The number of drones is growing all the time. And with the growing capability to track people electronically virtually all the time, there's a move for Congress to pass a new privacy law. But it's a fine line to legislate.
The key is going to be have these smart devices working for us and not against us. And right now, I don't have the confidence that that's going to be the case because people don't know what information these devices might be sending off about them.
Jennifer Wishon, CBN News, Washington.
Well, in the name of security, we've traded our liberty. We've definitely traded our privacy. And not just to the government, but to a whole host of private companies that are data mining all of this information in an effort to target you. Right now, it's targeting with commercial products, with ads, those kinds of things. But in the hands of a non-friendly government, a government that's against you, these become very powerful tools to hinder you and hinder your ability. And we're seeing that with the IRS. When they started targeting these Tea Party groups, they turned the full weight of the United States government against political speech. Well, we're finding out more about what kind of political groups the IRS targeted in the last few years. And Ephraim Graham has that story from the CBN newsroom. Ephraim?
Well, Gordon, there is no evidence the IRS targeted liberal or progressive groups in the same way that it did Tea Party groups seeking tax exemption. That is according to a top Treasury watchdog. In a letter to Congress, Tax Inspector General J. Russell George said the IRS agents only targeted 6 of the 20 groups that use the label progress or progressive, but they scrutinized all 292 Tea Party groups. That came as the chief of the Internal Revenue Service, David Werfel, faced further questioning from the House Ways and Means Committee Thursday.
And Mr. Werfel, let me be clear. Until the IRS proves that it can responsibly manage its current funds, the IRS will not see one more dime in taxpayer funding. We need real reforms, and they must be implemented so the American people can have a restored faith that they have a government that works for them, not against them.
In fact,
This was Werfel's third appearance before Congress since being appointed to lead the troubled agency just last month. A federal appeals court says Hobby Lobby and a sister company can fight Obamacare in court on religious grounds. The arts and crafts chain was facing millions of dollars in fines that were set to kick in on Monday. That's because it's refusing to obey the contraception mandate that is part of Obamacare. It requires all businesses to provide birth control coverage, including for abortion-inducing drugs. The deeply religious family that owns Hobby Lobby says obeying the mandate would mean violating their Christian faith. A big milestone in the immigration debate, the Senate has approved an immigration reform bill sending the issue to the House, but its future there is uncertain.
The bill as amended is passed.
When this legislation finally becomes law, it will make us stronger as a nation.
Here in America, generations of unfulfilled dreams will finally come to pass. And that's why I support this reform. Not just because I believe in immigrants, but because I believe in America even more.
The Senate's sweeping immigration bill includes a path to citizenship for millions of undocumented immigrants, expands visas for low-skilled workers, and carries some of the toughest enforcement measures ever. Supporters of the bill say it will also help secure the U.S.-Mexico border, increasing the number of agents and the amount of fencing. But opponents say there's no guarantee the border will actually be secure because so much is left to the discretion of the Department of Homeland Security.
There's just no way I can look at my constituents, look them in the eye, and tell them that today's assurances won't become tomorrow's disappointments.
House Republicans want to make sure security measures are in place and working effectively before agreeing to a path to citizenship.
People have to have confidence that the border is secure before anything else is really going to work. Otherwise, we repeat the mistakes of 1986.
The immigration bill now heads to the House, where it's sure to face tough challenges. Many Republicans in the House are working on their own immigration legislation. House Speaker John Boehner says the House won't vote on any immigration bill until he's certain it will pass. Despite the Supreme Court's ruling against them, Proposition 8 supporters say they will continue to fight for traditional marriage. But they argue another issue is also at stake. They say the court ignored the will of the people who voted against gay marriage in California more than once. Heather Sells has that story.
Backers of Prop 8 say the Supreme Court has set a dangerous precedent where the will of the voters no longer matters.
The decision of marriage should be left to the people. When the people validly enact a law to limit marriage to one man and one woman, it should be the people who decide whether that law should be reversed.
My initial reaction was, it's a new kind of tyranny. It's where the courts advocate social justice over social structure and social traditions and standards.
Even Justice Kennedy, who voted to strike down DOMA, sided with the California voters who approved Prop 8, stating, "The essence of democracy is that the right to make law rests in the people and flows to the government, not the other way around." The California initiative process embodies these principles and has done so for over a century.
If someone doesn't like a proposition that's passed in the state of California, arguably all they would have to do is find one judge, one federal judge, to declare it unconstitutional, and then get a wink and a nod from the Attorney General and the Governor, and it's over. And I think that's a terrible, terrible situation to have for the voters to have their votes count and to have their votes respected in the proper system.
It will take at least 25 days before the Supreme Court's ruling becomes official and gay marriages resume in California. If supporters of Proposition 8 ask for a rehearing, then gay marriages may still be barred beyond the 25-day period. Heather Sells, CBN News.
2 U.S. activists who speak out against radical Islam are being barred from entering England this weekend. They were planning to speak at a rally Saturday. The UK Home Office said the secretary will seek to exclude an individual if she considers that his or her presence in the UK is not conducive to the public good. The activists founded the organization Stop the Islamization of America. The western U.S. is getting hit with one of the worst heat waves in years. The temperatures could approach 130 degrees in Death Valley, close to the hottest ever recorded on Earth. That's 134. And forecasters look for 118 in Phoenix and 117 in Las Vegas. The heat will spread as far north as parts of Wyoming and Idaho. Temperatures are expected to go into the hundreds in Boise in that area this weekend. Well, I'll tell you, it is a good time to stay indoors. Gordon?
Yeah, well, unfortunately, we've got a July 4th celebration coming up, and a lot of people are going to be outside. So I've never heard of it being 100 degrees in Boise. That's a new one on me.
I haven't either. But the humidity here in Virginia Beach is pretty stifling. I mean, do you like the humidity? A lot of people like it.
I like it here. I like it here. But not if it was 134, I wouldn't.
No, no, thank you. That's too much.
A Bible with an inscription from Albert Einstein has sold for $68,500 at an auction in New York City. Einstein and his wife signed it in 1932 and gave it to an American friend. Einstein wrote in it that the Bible, quote, is a great source of wisdom and consolation and should be read frequently. Operation Blessing continues to work with residents in Moore, Oklahoma, affected by that huge EF5 tornado back in May. Recently, OB learned of a family of 9 that was in an emergency situation. Portions of their roof was damaged during the storm, leaving the interior of their home exposed to the elements. Some of the ceiling collapsed into their home, leaving their only bathroom barely functional and unsafe. Operation Blessing jumped into immediate action, replaced the entire roof, repairing the collapsed ceiling and putting up fresh paint on the walls. Now you can find out more about Operation Blessing by going to their website at ob.org.